I saw the dumbest sticker ever created recently, posted on a wall. It said, "We are all Charlie Kirk now." Not quite. I can still stand and breathe, and I don't have a fucking hole in my neck. Charlie Kirk said that some gun deaths were needed to protect the Second Amendment, so it's quite ironic that he was shot to death under a tent that read, "Prove me wrong." In fact, the shooter missed. In fact, the shooter missed an opportunity to have one of the alleged messages written on one of the bullets being, "Okay, here you go." He not only advocated for more gun deaths, but also wanted young people to watch public executions. Wow, Charlie Kirk got everything he wanted. What a lucky guy. When I heard Charlie Kirk had died, I was surprised that he was so young and that it wasn't due to natural causes, because given how conservative his views were, I was amazed that he wasn't 126 years old. In his memorial post, Donald Trump said that no one had a better heart for youth than Charlie Kirk. And if there's one person who knows what makes a heart for the youth, it's the president, who, need I remind you, has his name all over the Epstein files. I, for one, couldn't watch the video of Charlie Kirk being shot. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't make it through the whole thing because I was coming so hard that I damaged a perfectly good high-end laptop. And as a result, I am now barred from my local Office Depot. So, I wanted to go ahead and get into all this. This isn't necessarily about, trashing Charlie Kirk because, he was this, perfect person. No. In fact, I had a whole bunch of quotes compiled. This is just from the last few years. On a post on what was then Twitter, September 2nd, 2021, he wrote, "Abortion is not health care." Later that year, November 10th, he wrote, "If you actually watch his trial, it's obvious Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong." And then the following year, October 12th, 2022, "I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that it does a lot of damage." He said that on the Charlie Kirk show that day. Also on the Charlie Kirk show on July 13th of the following year, 2023, he wrote on African-American women in positions of power, "You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously." And then January 3rd, 2024, he said on a show, "If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman," and I'm quoting him, "I wonder, is she there because of her excellence? Or is she there because of affirmative action?" 20 days later on the Charlie Kirk show, he said, "If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified."
You mean he's calling them boy?
And then on March 21st of that year, he said at a Turning Point USA faith event, interesting name for that event, about birth control, "It's awful, it's terrible, and it creates very angry and bitter young ladies and young women. Then that bitterness then manifests itself into a political party that is the bitter party. I mean, the Democrat Party is all about, bring us your bitterness and, we'll give you free stuff." 10 days later, on March 31st, on X, he wrote, "There shouldn't be a transgender day of visibility." Later that year, on April 15th, he said about protesters, "If somebody has had enough of your antics and has to run you over to get somewhere, they shouldn't face any penalties." And quite frankly, he ripped that off of George Wallace in 1968. So shame on Charlie Kirk. Then on the Charlie Kirk show 5 days later, April 20th, 2024, "The single woman issue is one of the biggest issues facing a civilization." And we've scratched the surface because just this year, June 5th, "It's time to ban third world immigration, legal or illegal. We've reached our limit and we have a huge cultural, educational, housing, financial, and essential services problem to fix now because of it. We need a net zero immigration moratorium with a ban on all third worlders." Then he posted on X on June 27th, "Ketanji Brown Jackson is a diversity hire. She is only there because she's a black woman." That was his quote. He wrote that on X. And then on July 14th, he posted on X, "0 people from Gaza should be allowed to come to America. Period." End quote. End of vile Charlie Kirk statements, which I'm listening to all this stuff because a lot of my fellow podcasters, they go ahead and talk about Charlie Kirk. They sort of they kind of danced around it around the time because it was a tragic event. Obviously, no one had to see that, but just because of that, let's not paint him in like a 100% positive life. He did and said and advocated some pretty evil shit.
Not
He
just
did.
evil, but ignorant. Like,
Right.
bro, I wish the Democratic Party was I bring my bitterness and get free shit. I haven't gotten fuck all. And
That
I'm
would be so
very bitter and
nice.
angry.
I would love to get things for being just bitter and angry. I would be swimming in free stuff. But I mean, he uh didn't he drop out of community college? I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he had the nerve to, to talk down to, uh, Supreme Court justices that were black women or women of color. My thing about him is just the total disinformation. I think that's why the Republicans love him is that it's all lies. This whole quip about, when I get onto an airplane, if I see the pilot's black, I'm nervous, right? This idea that somehow black pilots are inferior. If you knew what a black pilot has to go to just to be taken seriously enough to fly a commercial airplane, that they have to be 110%, 120% better than any white pilot. Uh, it harkens to the fact that, Top Gun, everybody knows the movie Top Gun,
Yeah.
the contest for the
yeah.
best fighters, fighter pilots. Well, the original Top Gun happened in 1949. The original first team to win the first ever Top Gun were the Tuskegee Airmen,
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
The Red Tails.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Air Force or Army Air Corps hid that fact until 2023. They finally released the truth and said, well, our first Top Gun was won by the Tuskegee Airmen. So they acknowledged them when there were only two of them still alive. So they went, over 50 years, almost 70 years, not telling the truth that the best pilots from World War II were actually African American pilots.
Right. And that's what it is. It's truth. And supposedly Charlie Kirk was all about First Amendment free speech and getting the truth out there. That's just what, that's what he wanted. But yet we have facts like this that I bet you not a lot of people know.
Right, because it fits into the narrative that uh, the conservatives want. The other thing that Charlie Kirk was big about saying is that the problem with the African American community is that we have a culture that allows black men to impregnate women and then to leave them and leave the children. So he said, that 80% of African American children grow up without a father. Well, it's interesting because in the African American community, only 47% live with a single mom household. Three NIH studies from 2021 to 2023 have shown that when it comes to interaction and everyday uh, support of children, Black fathers rank the highest. In fact, 27% of African American fathers who don't live in the home uh, interact with their children every single day, taking them to school or some kind of activity, helping them with their homework. Whereas for white fathers, it's only 20%. So it's like every study has shown that African American fathers are more involved with their children than any other race. But, you know, to hear Charlie Kirk say, well, black fathers don't do anything,
Well, he
only
didn't care about reality or facts.
exactly.
He didn't care about debate or the rules of debate. All he cared about was going to colleges and bullying college students in a non-debate format. When he was forced to adhere to a format at Cambridge, he had his ass handed to him,
Right.
and it was beautiful, and I loved it.
Right. Because he, one of the reasons he went to colleges is because he knew that those are the people who lack the knowledge base to refute him. I mean, everything that, speaking to Tom, everything that Charlie Kirk does when you watch him, is just like a comedian who does crowd work. It's always about knowing more and knowing the little tricks and traps with an audience member. That's exactly what he does. Pick the weak link and tell them these things that are not true, and knowing that they don't have the knowledge base to call you a liar, to say that's not
Well,
true. Those
not
numbers are
even
not
that.
correct.
It was more than that. He would switch topics. He would move the goalposts. He would talk over people. Anytime anyone would make a contradictory point, he would jump in and throw some other meaningless thing in there. And that is not debate. That's just being an asshole.
That's crowd work. That's
Crowd
Todd.
work, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
comedian crowd work.
Mhm.
Although I think he went to colleges because I think he knew that he was a dipshit when he was in school. Like
Mhm.
he really didn't get anything from it. So he probably figured, okay, this is going to be slim pickings for me. I have real world experiences. And, like that Cambridge incident that Nicole was talking about, little did he realize he greatly underestimated them.
Well,
Yeah,
and he
these
wouldn't
aren't
debate that kid in Texas.
these aren't even dog whistles. These are air horns. Like everybody hears it. This isn't he made Tucker Carlson's saying the quiet part out loud look restrained.
Mhm.